Hi, welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers. I'm Mark Owen. Each week I invite a panel of business experts to review the morning newspapers, find out what's happened in their own individual business, their own individual business sectors, and finally what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. But before I start, I just want to thank our fantastic sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors, and we really couldn't do the show without them. Okay, let's meet our wonderful panel today. We've got Rupert Bedell. He's the MD and General Manager of FASTHOSTS. The company manages more than 1.1 million domains and hosts more than 10,000 servers across the UK data centres. Has a turnover of 42 million, 250 staff, and they recently moved in and are the first tenant of Gloucester's £107 million digital forum development, taking 19,000 square feet of the office block. FASTHOSTS have just launched a new campaign. It's what Gloucestershire businesses are offering free website, that's free by the way, website and hosting package for 1 year to any business in the GL postcode. So that's quite a big deal, and we'll find out all about that and why Rupert's doing it as well. We have Anna Herbert. She's the marketing director of Hobbs House Bakery, certified C Corp Company. It has its own bakery based in Shipping Sodbury, a turnover of £8 million, 170 staff across 4 stores. Nailsworth, Tetbury, Shipping Sodbury, Bristol, but most of the business comes from wholesaling. So we'll find out all about that. But before we do, I just want to say they celebrated 100 years in 2020, and this year they're celebrating again, and they've just been awarded the King's Award for Sustainable Development. So big congratulations to you, Anna, and all your team. Absolutely fantastic there. We have Francesca Inman, CEO of Cheltenham, the most not-for-profit organisation representing and supports over 800 levy-paying businesses and promotes Cheltenham as a safe, secure, attractive, clean, welcoming, vibrant and connected place to spend time. Fran took over the position just over a year ago, so we'll find out from her what it's been like, lessons learned, and what are the biggest issues faced in Cheltenham bid. And I didn't realise, but the budget is only just £600,000, which is quite phenomenal with what you achieved with that budget, Fran. I just want to say congratulations to you on that as well. We'll find out all about that. And last not least, we have Sam Holliday, Business Development Manager of Federation of Small Business, ex-editor of the Bar Chronicle, represents SMEs, Gloucestershire, Gloucester South West. It's tough going out there for business, Sam. We all know it. Hopefully you'll find some good news for us hidden under your table there. I don't know, but we'll soon find out. Okay, let's see what's making the headlines, please. Courtesy of the BBC today. We'll just whip through these. Okay, the Daily Mail, US trade deal made by Brexit. Financial Times, Starmer seals first US trade deal since the start of the Trump war. The Times, MP hails historic deal with USA. The Daily Telegraph, PM hands US veto on China deals. The Eye, UK wins global race to shake off worst Trump trades. There's Daily Star, the future's orange. This is awkward, David Lammy. The Metro, you have made the ultimate sacrifice and you will never be forgotten. The Sun, it's weirdly actually the Sun went for this, going for the Pontiff actually on its full page. God bless America. The Guardian, evil will not prevail. First US Pope vows to build bridges. The Mirror, honour their legacy. And that's the roundup of the papers today. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Sam. Newsday, really, if you think about it, what all the papers had to deal with: the trade deal, the new Pope, the V-Day celebrations. They had the Russian parade. They've got the war in India and Pakistan. It's a jam-packed day for news. But what have you picked out?
It was a jam-packed day. I mean, I sort of, while I was working, I had the BBC News channel on, as I was waiting for the white smoke to come up. I was waiting for Donald Trump to appear at this press conference, and I watched the press conference. And like, the thing about watching Trump, I don't really watch him speak at length, but he's trying to work out what he's actually saying, because he just leaps from one thing to another. So all I got was a little bit of a mutual backslapping. It was a bit excruciating at times, but I just wanted to get to the nitty-gritty of what the actual deal was about. And I've got the Times today. I've been looking through it, and I think there's a line actually that they've just pop my glasses on, that they put in their leader, where they say, from a purely British perspective, the agreement represents a damage limitation exercise rather than an unbridled triumph. And I think there's something in that, because even when they're saying that cars now, it's gone from 27% tariff to 10%, that's still 10% more than it was before Trump was elected. So, you know, the idea that this is a fantastic deal. And I did find, and I know Keir Starmer's desperate for some good news at the moment, but the way he was talking about it is like we've just like discovered the cure for cancer. And I thought, I don't think this deal is that brilliant. And I don't think Trump, you know, is actually, how do I put this? When you get a little tiger cub, everyone sees a little tiger cub and they stroke it and think it's cute and think it's like a pussycat, but it gets bigger and then it bites back. And I think with Trump is an unpredictable tiger cub. You know, you can have your moments with him where you think everything's sweetness and light. You say one wrong thing, it's gone. And if you look at all the coverage in the papers, you know, if you're working certain industries like steel, it is good news apparently because there's some good work on there. But you know, if you're a car manufacturer or something in the Midlands, or you work for a car company, you're still going to have your doubts about this, and lots of other stuff in there is still to be unpicked. And it really, I think that phrase that the Times has said is absolutely spot on. It feels like damage limitation. It's as if we've got a deal and it's not as bad as it could have been. Well, that's, you know, how many of us in business like to have, you call that a deal? So I don't think America gives anything away at the moment. So I would imagine that we have, and despite our enthusiasm, damage limitation, I think, sums it up. So I think that was a good overview. But I think, like everything, like when we have a budget, we all have to ask instant opinion about the budget. The devil will be in the detail. I think when we actually see the real nitty gritty, what it means, if it saves British jobs, if it makes life easier for Britain, brilliant. But I suspect the Americans come out of it better than we have. But that's just my perspective from looking at on over.
Okay, thanks ever so much, Sam. And you're right, it's very much like a tiger, and they're orange as well. Pretty much like the president. But what else can you say? But I'm going to bring you in on this because I know you've got a view on the tariffs as well. What are they, and what's your thoughts on it? Because obviously you obviously sell to the States too, Rupert.
Sorry, I wasn't sure you were referencing me there. Yeah, I tend to agree with Sam on this one. You know, just reading through the papers this morning, it's all being trumpeted as great news, particularly by the I guess the more Brexit oriented papers. You know, the Daily Mail headline. I mean, is this really good news? What we're saying here is we've gone from 25 back down to 10. It's still worse than it was 5 weeks ago. There's also a trade-off here. It's effectively cars and steel going one way in exchange for beef and ethanol going the other way. So the US has been very keen to sell their meat products into Europe and the UK. We're not so keen on them for a variety of reasons, the way that the meat is treated and so on, and quality issues. So this is not good news for UK farmers. That certainly hasn't been reported. If we're importing more US beef, then we're using less UK beef. And it's a bit look, you know, there's been a lot of bad news about you know, the economy and since Trump has come in, and so, you know, you don't want to sort of pour a negative cloak on this. However, we are now playing Trump's game exactly the way that he wanted to play it. So to Sam's point, Trump's come in, he's made life difficult for absolutely everybody with these really outlandish introductions of tariffs. And what he wants to do is do that as a negotiating position and then wait for everybody to come to him with the begging bowl. And he has America has a far superior negotiating position. Instead of kind of boycotting the US and saying, right, well, you know what, that's just not cool. And we're going to source things from Europe and we're going to do trade deals with other organizations. The UK has decided to play nicely and do a deal with the US. And now we're patting ourselves on the back for doing that. If I was Canada or Denmark reading this news this morning, I'd be quite depressed about that because, you know, what happens next? Is it all one-way traffic where we literally queue up to do a deal with Donald Trump that is always going to be weighted towards the US? So yeah, I'm a little bit depressed by this. I hope it doesn't take away from the agenda that Europe needs to be more independent. And certainly, you know, in the industry I work in, there's lots of talk about data sovereignty and a European data cloud and how important this is and how quickly we've got to establish this now that we can't necessarily rely on American providers. So let's see what pans out. I guess the next thing is the EU going to go and try and do a similar deal now that the UK has done this? It's maybe good news that we've got something, but I don't know. Definitely mixed feelings about it.
Okay, thanks ever so much for that, Rupert. I think basically he's a bully at the end of the day, and he gets everybody in his room and tries to bully the best deal out of everybody. I think that's the way he does business, really. Thanks ever so much for that, Rupert. I'm going to bring you in, Anna. Great to see you both, and Fran as well, new to the show. Anna, what have you picked out from the papers, please?
Well, I've picked out about student studying, as my daughter just made a cameo appearance as she leaves for her last day at school to do her GCSEs, and I've got one doing A-levels as well. The headline is "Pupils prefer to study phones after 14 minutes of revision." And really, it's just drawing out the fact that students can't concentrate at the moment. Parents are in despair because all they want to do is go on their mobile phones. Ironically, my children have got an app that they use on their phone to tell them how long they've revised for, which I'm sure is distracting in itself. And I suppose my question is just really, is this about to change? Is there a future for children that are obsessed with their phones? I'm obsessed with my phone, so I mean, hands up. It's a really tricky thing to balance. I thought it was interesting as well yesterday with the Pope. I was quite struck by the images when I was watching them, waiting for them to come out in the balcony, that everybody was filming it. You know, it's incredible in that environment that the cardinals, everybody is trying to film it. And are we ever going to be able to culturally change that, particularly as some schools this week have banned phones? I think I saw them going into some lockers this week. And I'm just wondering whether the tide is about to turn and whether it desperately needs to for our children's welfare, or actually whether the impact needs to be on education and we need to develop an education system which is much more fit for children today and their use of technology.
I mean, going back to the schools very quickly as well, they're on about, and the age of your children, about banning mobile phones, social media to the age of 16.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah. I do agree with that, but I just don't know whether they can implement it. And interestingly, I came across some friends are lobbying or working on a campaign which has got over 200,000 followers that's called No Smartphones and No Smartphone Free Childhood. So there's stuff starting to happen to stop that. And I think I wish that as a parent that we had that wisdom. You know, they say the work starts when the children are in reception, to know that that isn't going to be the norm. But I think we're in a weird space at the moment where it is so normal, and we've all entered into it a little bit blindly over the last decade and aren't sure yet really what the impact's going to be.
Yeah, we used to make our kids put their phones downstairs by the old telephone before they went to bed. And oh my God, we would have some right old arguments with them as we, try to implement that over the years, as you can imagine.
And I think that's what the article, and that's what the article says, is it just causes arguments within families. So the stress levels are really high then, because they're saying get off your phone and revise, which isn't a great way to bring up your children either. So it's a challenging time.
No, what I don't get is how a parent. I was watching we were in a very nice restaurant the other day, me and my wife, and there was this little kid around, I don't know, 2, and there they were. They weren't interacting with the meal. They were just watching an iPad, some cartoon or games. And same one in the plane was flying back from Cyprus. Little kiddie, tiny little dot with playing games and stuff. You can say it's education, but it's really distraction. Where's the colouring pencils? Where's the crayons?
I know.
Where's the dot? All that kind of yeah. Anyway, thanks ever so much for that, Anna. Fran, let's bring you in. Great to see you. What have you picked out from the papers, please?
So I've picked out something health related about Ozempic and Weight Watchers. I do think this story we were just talking about is really interesting, though. Just before I delve into that, with young people and phones, I remember being told when I was studying at school that we'll never have a calculator in our pocket when we grow up, so we must learn properly how to do maths and bits and pieces. And now I think, well, I do have a calculator in my pocket everywhere I go. So just a really interesting topic that I could really delve into that one. But the one I've picked up is the latest craze is Ozempic, that has basically, well, Weight Watchers have said basically it's made them bankrupt. They filed for bankruptcy. So that's a company that's been around, around 60 years, I think it was, and started with 400 people and expanded to empower millions to lose weight. And now there's this new drug going around, and people are using that as their quick fix. So a really interesting one.
Yeah, rather than willpower and actually watching your diet and getting fit. And I've been to Weight Watchers over the years. I hate to say, failed miserably. I'd sign up and then not go, which didn't help. But there you go. I mean, you're a bit of a fitness person yourself, Fran, aren't you, as well?
I am.
But can you see, everybody, that obviously with these new drugs, that a lot of these weight companies, like Weight Watchers, may go bust. Isn't it? If you can instantly lose weight, well, why go through all that aggro?
I think so. I think so. I think the scary thing for me is, like, I love food as well. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love food. But the scary thing for me is, one, the side effects, two, the long-term effects of that. But thirdly, when you go back to eating normally as well, are people going to be, I don't know, addicted to the drug, or, you know, go through that yo-yo dieting again? And actually, is that worse or better? I don't know. You know, the answer for me is always eat healthy and exercise, because it's good for your body and your brain. Whereas what scares me a little bit about this, it's quite instantaneous. You know, people start losing weight quite quickly, you know, and I've known people that aren't even that overweight doing it because they want to lose a few pounds. You know, actually, the more you get into exercise and diet, you'll realize it's not always about weight, because your weight will fluctuate anyway. It's how you feel in yourself, actually, more often than not. So yeah, a little bit, from my point of view, very scary, actually, that there is that out there.
Can I just say, Fran, I think you're right. I think I know quite a few people that are on it, quite surprised. And some of them, I look at them and think, I'm not even sure you need to lose weight, let alone start putting drugs into your body. And they're incredibly expensive as well. And also, it doesn't change. It does change the way you feel about food while you're on it. But the moment you stop or you run out of money because you can't keep paying for it, it'll come back again. And the Weight Watchers and the slimming world's very good, I think. I've had a lot of people who succeed with that. It tries to change the way you think about food, and you can maintain it for life. In fact, with Slimming World, once you reach your target weight, you can go back to every session every week without cost, just to keep learning more about food. Whereas this is it feels like a quick fix, doesn't it?
I feel like it's dangerous. It's so dangerous.
I think so.
You can imagine someone going, you know, not being funny, getting a jab, and then going to McDonald's and having the big fries and the Big Mac because they think they've solved the problem. Anyway, we could talk
Well, they
about
don't, Mark.
this.
They can't eat it. I know people are on it. You go to your McDonald's and you look at your Big Mac, you have 2 bites and think, that's me done. So it's not. I'm talking to people I know who are on it, and they'll say that, and they'll say they can't understand it. They've never been in that position before. So it obviously works, but it was designed for people who are morbidly obese, not for people who could lose a pound or a few pounds if they did do a proper diet and went to the gym or whatever. You know.
I think the big worry at the end of the day is what's it actually doing to your body long term, isn't it? And especially for young people as well, it could be. Anyway, let's Anna, I'm going to bring you in now. Let's talk about your business, if that's okay. I mean, Herbert Bakery's certainly Herbert. Hobbs House Bakery, because you've got Herbert written on screen. Hobbs House Bakery, 100 years. Congratulations with the Queen's Award. So I just want to say, so you where's most of the business come from?
So our growth over the last 10 years has come from wholesale. So we have historically, we were always more retail focused. I think we've had up to 6 shops. We open and close them periodically, but we've got our lowest kind of percentage of retail at the moment. But the growth we've really seen has come from getting our bread further afield. So we work with lots of local wholesalers. So Creed is one of them, obviously great family business. Well, was a great family business. It's still a great family business, but no longer owned by the Creed family locally. So distributing our bread further afield and often distributing it frozen, which just means that it can go further. So that's where we've really seen that growth, an awful lot of growth as well on burgers. So burger rolls, we're making a lot of burger rolls. Hopefully people are eating them in moderation and for health. And and also, I mean, I think our thing is it's really interesting following on from the diet stuff. Obviously, we're making carbohydrates, but I think our focus is very much about making the best bread we can. So actually, it's a bit like, you know, with meat, that it's much better to eat less, better meat. So, you know, eat bread, but eat less and eat good bread.
Obviously, the shops themselves running a store retail nowadays is extremely difficult. The costs have gone up through the roof, haven't they? The cost of staff as well. How do you manage that? How do you mitigate that?
So it is really hard. It's a really hard time to be in retail. I think we're really fortunate, and I think COVID taught us we were really glad that we have many bows, strings to our bow, because we sell a little bit online. We do have retail stores. We do wholesale. So, you know, when hospitality thrives, that's fantastic, but sometimes it doesn't. So we also work with farm shops in Delhi. So we're at Gloucester Services. So I think doing lots of different things really helps. But the price and the national insurance increase has been massive for us. And unfortunately, we have had to pass it on to the customer to remain sustainable. And there's we just try to make sure that within that, we're not compromising on our ingredients and we're still delivering an outstanding product and service. And I think that's the challenge to us, is to make sure that we're not compromising and we're better than ever. And in retail, I think it's probably worth a special mention to Nailsworth at the moment that there's always retail challenges, and the road outside our shop has been dug up for the last 4 weeks and the road is closed, and it's really interesting to see psychologically what that does to your customers, because whilst you can still park in Nailsworth either side of that road, people are just not visiting Nailsworth because psychologically they've had to change their routine. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see when we do reopen, when the road does reopen, hopefully next week, whether we do recover fully from that, or whether actually it's been so long that people's habits change, and being on the retail high street is a hard thing at the moment. So that's really challenging for the other businesses around us as well.
And even trying to get the money back from one of the, I think it was Western Gas or something like that, isn't it? That's digging up the road there.
We're on a bit of a close run thing, so we have to get to 28 days. So we're fingers crossed it opens, fingers crossed it doesn't open, because I think Monday or Tuesday next week is 28 days, and then you can make a claim. But whether that works. But I mean, we're really fortunate because it's not essential for our business, and we've got other areas of our business. But I really feel for those independents that are on the same road as us, and businesses generally in Nailsworth, which are really struggling.
Without a shadow of doubt, I love Nailsworth, by the way, and I go to Nailsworth, go to Tetbury. My biggest challenge is not to buy cakes when I go into your shops, by the way, when I'm delivering, because we do put a few magazines on the side, and I end up buying a few cakes for the guys as well. Anyway, thanks ever so much for that, Anna. Great to hear that. Fran, I'm going to bring you in if that's okay. So you've been there at Cheltenham Bid for over a year.
Mm-hmm. Yep, literally just a year yesterday. So yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations on that. So what's it been like? What's been the biggest learning curve? Because you came from Bristol. Did you know Cheltenham beforehand?
I knew of Cheltenham, so I've been to the races quite a few times, sort of about 15 years ago. But yeah, did I know the town? Not very well. I was quite cheeky though, and I did visit it before I went to my interview to get to know it. So yeah, got a little insight, shall we say.
What was the biggest challenge when you took over the role? You know, learning about the town. They obviously, with the thing about the bids, you have people that are really pro, people who are. You got to balance this, and people like a moan, don't they? And they expect so much.
Oh, definitely. You've just heard what our budget is. I think the biggest challenge in any bid actually is proving, what you can achieve as a small team, and actually you can achieve quite a lot. And I think here it's for me, it's trying to just change the narrative to see us as more as of a positive. There's lots of membership organisations in Cheltenham that do fantastic work, and it's ensuring that we work with all of them. So Sam is one of them, to ensure that we're doing the best that we can, with the budget that we've got, and that we aren't just spending money willy-nilly. Actually, it's been well thought through and it's transparent, so people can see where that money's going.
Now, you've got 2 new members of staff. That's going to help as well. We ran a story on that very recently. That must be a great weight off your mind as well, to have some extra hands on decks.
Yeah, it's quite funny. We've got James and James, so we've named them James and Jim. But they've both come in. One is our project and event manager, and one is our business engagement manager. And it's sort of to professionalise the bid a little bit more, so we can get that really good engagement, but actually start to produce some really high quality projects that do have an impact on the town centre.
And moving forward, you've obviously got the vote coming up as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please, and what it means for you and for the bid, and why it's so important?
I just love a bit of pressure, in a new role. So any bid across the country, actually, so there's 340 of us. How they're run is they are set up and they go through what is called terms, so term 1, 2, 3. So every 5 years, the businesses within your cohort, so within your bid boundary, vote on whether they want to keep you or not. And what's really interesting about this vote is it still goes out via postal vote. So as you can imagine, that can get a little bit complicated, and it's quite an old school process. But what that allows them to do is decide whether they want to keep a bid or not. So naturally, I'm going to sell it. But the USP for a bid is you pay your business rates and you pay your council tax, etc., etc. You don't really know where it goes. So with a bid, we don't have any red tape for a start, so we can be really, really flexible on what we spend, but also we should be really transparent in where that money's going, and it should be going into a pot that the businesses trust, but also you can then become a collective voice for them as well. So we're there also to hold, local authorities to account, and police force and lots of others as well. We've begun to have quite a big influence, I think, across the country. So the vote is really important, that we that we stay in that position and continue to influence and actually make the town a better place.
Can people join the bid even if they're outside the geographical area?
Yeah, so how it works is all of the businesses that are within our boundary that earn have a rateable value of over 7,500 pay a levy. If they don't reach that amount, they can become a voluntary contributor. But that also is the case and it varies from bid to bid, but I like if you're just on the periphery of our boundary, so shall I say, then yes, you can become a voluntary contributor. You can alter the boundary of a bid, but the only time you can alter the boundary is as you're coming up to a vote, because legally it has to go through the process of the council, etc., to ensure that they're happy that you've extended the boundary. So yeah, there's lots of different ways people can join or not join, but we've had a few recently that do want to join and they're just on the periphery, so we might extend the boundary to them so they can be part of it.
And hopefully one of them came from a lead that our story. I won't mention who that is. Thanks ever so much, Fran. That was really really great. Interesting to hear all about that. Rupert, let's bring you in, please. Rupert, I was at your place, and what a fantastic work environment that forum is now. You've taken over 19,000 square feet. Can you just explain to the guys what it means to get all your staff moved from Southgate Street to there where you are now, please?
Yeah, it's been fantastic since. So we're almost 6 months at the forum. We moved in early January with much kind of fanfare. We had the mayor come and open the office. Previously, we've been in Gloucester for 28 years as FASTHOSTS. We were started in the late 90s as an A-level project, but we were based down the end of Southgate Street in two different locations, all of our customer services in one building. And then most of the head office actually tucked away off the high street. You wouldn't have known we were there. And I remember having an interview with Mark not long after I joined, and he said, you're the best kept secret in Gloucester. Nobody really sort of knows that you're there anymore. We know there's a web hosting company here somewhere. So it's been brilliant, to get everybody in under one roof in a lovely modern environment, but also to kind of come out of our shell a little bit. I was determined when I joined the organization last year to play a bigger role in Gloucester's community and particularly Gloucester's business community. And now we've sort of increased our profile. We're there in the forum. It's a brilliant office. We absolutely love it. It really is state of the art. But what we want to do now is try and give something back to Gloucester business. So our business is websites, domains, web hosting, that kind of thing. And we sat down and said, well, what can we do that will help the businesses around us? And we're aware that economically Gloucester is hopefully on a journey, but with a long way to go. And it makes a massive difference if you're a high street business, but you've got a great website as well. And we were talking a little bit about how hard it was as a retailer, from Anna earlier on. And we said, a lot of these businesses either don't have a good web presence, or actually it could be a lot better. And we can help them do that. So we said, well, why don't we put together a package of our products? So a free domain, free website builder tools, free email, and free web hosting, and just give it to any business in Gloucestershire. And so we do it. The qualifying criteria is any business with a Gloucestershire or GL postcode can get all these products free for a year. And actually not just that, but we're gonna help them build brilliant websites. So once they've taken the offer, they can sign up for an online tutorial or actually come into our forum offices, and we'll do a face-to-face tutorial with them there in terms of how to build a brilliant, WordPress website from scratch, so that they can take orders online, fulfill those orders, manage their search engine optimization so they show up on Google, and really try and move them forward a gear. So we're appealing to all businesses in Gloucestershire. If this sounds like something you're interested in, pop onto the website. It's fasthosts.com/Gloucester, and you'll see all the details of the offer. Just ring through. We would love you to come and take up the offer. And actually, if any businesses do this and build a successful website and see their business improve, we'd love to profile them as well. Actually start sharing their story on our social media. So hopefully that catches fire a little bit, because we want to play a bigger part in the local community.
Well, it's a win-win. It's great that you're here with Sam today, and thanks ever so much for that, Rupert. I think it's a fantastic offer, by the way, especially as it's for the whole. It's not just Gloucester, but there's a whole GL postcode as well. Thanks for that, Sam. Let's bring you in, because business is tough. Let's be honest about it. You talk to lots of different businesses, like I do. What's the sort of general feedback that you're hearing at the moment? We've talked about national insurance. We've talked about business rates. What's it like?
they're all combining, aren't they? I mean, I always thought this would be the tricky month. We've been waiting to kick in the national living wage to go up, and April was always going to be a really difficult month for businesses because they're now seeing those bills actually coming in and going out. So I've got a feeling what's going to happen the next 2 or 3 months, we'll really see the effects of it all, and there is still a lot of doom and gloom about, which is why, anything that people can do, like what Rupert's doing, I think that's amazing, and that's a really good thing. I'll try and help to promote that. What Fran and people are doing with the bids, we just need anything that energizes businesses, because there is a lot of negative noise out there. And maybe that was a little bit of the thinking behind Keir Starmer going a bit over the top yesterday with excitement, because there's so little good news out there at the moment. It is a tough time for businesses. It's been a tough time for business for a long time. But I think April was a really key month, because that's when all these bills that everyone's been fearing came into effect. So we'll now see the reality of that. Our price is going to start going up. Are people going to start recruiting less? Are people going to start getting smaller pay increases? I think the mood music it has been negative for a long time, but we'll just see. Because the one thing I always say, and you talk about saying positive earlier, Mark, is small businesses, which is the ones that, the heart of what I do, are incredibly resilient. And a lot of them will have had time to prepare for some of the things that are kicking in. It's whether they've been able to sort of deal with it. So I think this is going to be a very crucial spring summer period. Interest rates coming down yesterday helped, little things like that. But that's what I'm saying. We've got to grasp every bit of good news, because there's so much negative piling in that any good news. So everything that everyone's doing here, it's all good. It's all good.
My biggest worry is employing young people, because the
Yeah,
price of the national insurance going up, but the minimum wage going up as well. That I can see coming down the tracks. Young people not getting the jobs that they so desperately need, or the opportunities that they could have. Thanks so much for that, Sam. Anna, I'm going to bring you in. The pick of the punchlines as we wrap up the show. What have you picked out from punchline? And you could have picked your own story, but
I
I
could have
know
picked my own story about the King's Award, but I actually chose, and I think it's quite on theme from our conversations this morning. So I really so as a business, we try really hard to support anything that's to do with food poverty. So supporting our local food banks, donating bread to charities. My husband founded the Long Table. So the thing that resonated most with me was with the Cheltenham, you're going to have to remind me of the name, but the Cheltenham gyms that were giving exercise vouchers to food bank users, which I just think is a really wonderful and beautiful thing. Some friends told me yesterday that, and I'm sure Fran will confirm this, that exercise apparently is 1.5 more times likely than therapy to help people with their mental health. So I just thought that was really a bang on and a really beautiful story, because we need to be doing more for these people that are really struggling at this point. And actually, if we can get them out exercising and feeling better, then that's going to help them to feed themselves better as well. So
it's funny that when you have a good flick through the punchline stuff, if you don't mind me saying, the amount of positive stuff that businesses do for charity is absolutely quite amazing and quite astounding. It always takes my breath away when you look at it over the whole week as well. Thanks so much for that, Anna. I'll bring you back in. What's your pick of the punchlines, please?
Sorry, was that
Yeah.
Rupert? Oh, Rupert, sorry.
I wasn't sure who was talking to you there. Sorry, Mark.
No, I'm going to ask you, I'll leave you a minute then. I'm going to bring Fran in. Fran, what's your pick of the punchlines?
Sorry, I thought you said me. I didn't quite hear you. Yeah, I think that was a really good one that was just picked up then, to support those that maybe don't have a gym membership. I think that's great. Yeah, Cheltenham definitely does have a load of businesses that do loads for charity. So that's fantastic. I picked up on the positive story of Warm Spring Boost's next sales. So naturally in my world, that's really important, especially with what we've just talked about with all the negativity and the national insurance and the business rates and bits and pieces. It's great to have a story on a retail store. Yes, they are national, but they're also doing very well in Cheltenham and Gloucester. I think that's great. Given the current climate at the moment, there is a lot of negativity out there that we see around retail, and there are concerns, but it just shows that their sales are going up, so they must be doing something right, and it's kind of a sign, I think, to other retailers that it isn't all doom and gloom, and some of them are actually doing okay out there.
It's funny, isn't it? Because Primark always seems to do extremely well as well, and some of the retailers have just nailed it. That's what it's about, really. They've just nailed their product, nailed their price points, know what they're doing, and motoring along as well. Thanks so much for that, Fran. Right, Rupert, I'm going to bring you back in. What have you picked out from this week's punchline, please? Then we'll wrap up with Sam in a second.
Cool. Yeah. So I got beyond the lead story, which was about the forum, which obviously piqued my interest. So that had a feature of FASTHOSTS. But beyond that, there was an article about car and van sales wobbling and Tesla taking a hit, and there's more negative news about EVs. It frustrates me how much negative stories there are about EVs at the moment, about range anxiety, about the cost, about the lack of chargers, and we seem to gloss over the fact that this transition to EVs is really important for the world. So it's I'm a big fan of EVs, and I want to champion the positive message of moving to an EV. It's made an incredible difference here where I live in London to the air quality. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of make that point that I would love to see more positive stories about EV rather than just everybody beating up on it the whole time.
Just very quick, very, very quickly, it's really made a big impact on London, the air quality.
Massive, absolutely massive. I live in zone 3 here. I'm in Gloucester during the week, obviously, with my job, but at weekends I come back to London. And not only is it quieter on the roads, I've got 3 kids, and I walk one of them to school every morning. It's so much quieter. We can actually have a conversation. But the air quality, I've seen some of the stats. It's like a 70% improvement in air quality since we brought in the EV zone. So we've kind of forced a lot of EVs to be bought. They're probably more than half the cars on the road just driving around the neighborhood. And it's fantastic. And yes, it's expensive, and the government should do more, and there should be more charges and so on. But there are huge benefits here, which nobody is writing about.
Okay, thanks so much. Really interesting. I actually blame the pollution running London, the 4 London marathons I ran. I actually blame pollution for giving me my heart attack. Actually, part of because of the pollution there in clogging up the. Anyway, let's not go into that. But I do think it had a part to play in my illness. Sam, what have you picked out from the punchlines, please?
Yeah, well, it's been a lot of talk about the high street. So one slightly sad story and one more positive story from the high street. I was reading a story about the little sewing shop in Stroud that it's been been there for 56 years, and it might close down. And somebody was trying to buy it. I know the lady was trying to buy it, and the numbers just didn't add up with all the costs that we talk about, national insurance and things. But how sad if a little shop like that goes after 56 years. It probably never come back. It will be replaced by a chain or something. So that was sad. But on the positive side, I very much liked your video of 26A Westgate, the antique centre, which is I think you said something like it's the largest surviving timber frame building of its kind in the country. And it just goes to show, as did yesterday with VAD, that we've got so much to celebrate in our history, and we need as much of that as we can on the high street as well. So yeah, that's a perfect thing to think about this week, that history is so important to all of us, and it's made us what we are. So I'm so glad to see that building restored.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sam. That was my pick of the punchline as well. It's great to go back to that building. I was there 10 years ago when they started this journey, and to see it transformed as it is now is quite truly breathtaking. And it goes to show perfect example of public and private money working together for the benefit of the whole city. And it wasn't big bucks at the end of the day. They really didn't waste a lot of money. Unfortunately, guys, that's all we've got time for today. I'd just like to thank my fantastic panel for joining us. Thanks everybody for that. For all of you for watching today, I hope you enjoyed the show. And also our amazing sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors. If you like the show, please like, share and subscribe. And remember, we'll be back again next week. But until then, it's all in the punchline. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.